Hi everybody, this is Mr. William, and today we're going to have a special lesson on Daniel. First thing I want to do is welcome you to this week's passage, which is going to be out of Daniel 3. So if you have your Bible, grab it, okay? A little bit past the middle of the Bible, you'll see Daniel, okay? So we're going to be in Daniel 3, okay? Now, the first thing I want to do is I want to introduce you to this week, or actually this month's memory verse, okay? And I'm going to repeat it for you, all right? It's out of Proverbs 17:17. A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. So that might not be easy to understand. So what I wanted to do is rephrase it for you so you can understand it a little bit better, okay? Okay, here's the rephrase. A friend loves at all times. He is there to help when trouble comes. So when trouble is around, a good friend doesn't leave you, right? Does anybody know the name of a person who's a friend but they leave you right away when there's trouble? That's called a fair weather friend. So as long as the weather is good, they're your friend. But when the weather gets stormy and it starts to thunder, they run. So we're gonna switch over to Daniel 3. Does anybody remember Daniel? Maybe they remember Daniel and the lion's den, right? Okay, well this is a little bit before the lion's den, okay? Daniel is younger here, but we're going to actually read about three of his best friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Kind of funny names, but those were their names. And I have to tell you, if you remember the Bible, we have a situation going on in Israel where the people of Israel had turned away from God, and the Babylonians came and they conquered Israel. And they took a lot of people from Israel and they transplanted them into Babylon, okay? So Babylon, you might be asking, where's Babylon? Okay, well, Babylon is where Iraq is today, okay? And it was a big city, metropolitan. It was like New York City of the ancient world. And there was a king who ruled over it, and his name was Nebuchadnezzar. I know, another funny name, right? But he was pretty much in charge of everything, even more in charge than like our president, because the president today, you still have other forms of government, like Congress, Senate, Supreme Court. But this Nebuchadnezzar, he ruled, it was his word and no other word, right? So he got this idea that there would be a 90-foot statue made of him so that everybody in the kingdom could bow down and worship him. Now there was a problem because many of the Jewish people didn't want to bend down and bow to a god that was pretty much the king. They didn't like that. But no one was willing to stand up and say, no, I don't want to do that. Except, you got it, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So, when the king decided that they wouldn't bow down and worship the statue of him, he told his guards to get them right away. And he was going to show everybody what would happen if somebody disobeyed him. So he had this fire going in this huge kiln-like area where he had this fire going. It must have been like enough to sear anybody's skin off. And he told them, he said, if you don't bow down to the statue and worship it as your God, then I'm going to burn you alive. But that didn't change them. They only knew God. They only wanted to pray to God. The story goes that Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego were thrown into the room where the fire was. And there was massive amounts of heat, but they didn't die. God saved them miraculously. right? And the king was confused. He didn't understand why they weren't killed. So he ordered it to be made hotter. That didn't work either. So finally, he looked in himself into this, area where they were burning everything in the room. And he saw 4, right? 4 people in the room, not 3, but 4. And there was an angel of the Lord in there with them, protecting them from the fire. So, interesting thing that we want to talk about here is how does that relate to the memory verse? A friend loves at all times, right? Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego cared about each other so much that they stood firm against the king as a team, and they didn't falter. They knew that they couldn't pray to a fake god like that, something that the king made up. They knew that they had to keep their love in their heart for God, for the true God who created all of the universe. I'm going to read to you the end of Daniel 3, all right? So when Nebuchadnezzar saw them in there and they weren't being burned up, he said, "Praise be to God, to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's command," meaning they didn't listen to me, right? And even he was amazed by this, even the king. And they were willing to give up their lives rather than worship this gold 90-foot idol of the king. Therefore, the king says, "I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses be turned into piles of rubble." So the king kind of made a proclamation because of their bravery that they went against the king because they knew it was a wrong thing to worship a gold idol. The king finally decided, well, this is a miracle, so I guess I'm going to protect all the people, all the Jewish people, from anybody who wants to hurt them. And he said, "For no other God can save in this way." So he recognized that God saved them. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and made them highly decorated as men who were in the government. So Nebuchadnezzar, the king, valued the bravery of these 3 friends that they stuck together. These 3 friends stuck together, and the king saw how much they cared for each other and that they were firm in their belief, and God rewarded them by protecting them. I challenge you all to read it, and a Bible book for anybody when they get back who can tell me these questions. First question would be to remember the memory verse, right? A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity. What did Nebuchadnezzar command his people to do? Well, that's easy. The king wanted them to bow down and pray to his gold statue. Why didn't Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego bow to the idol? Well, that's easy, right? Because they don't want to worship idols, they only worship God. How did God save the 3 friends from the fiery furnace? Well, he sent his angel, remember? What are some of the ways we as Christians can strengthen one another? Now, we went over that. We stick together. What are some things we can do to serve God as a group that we couldn't do alone? And I'll leave that one up to you to put down what you think we could do together. All right? And this is Mr. Williams signing off. Remember, you get a free Bible book if you can answer those questions. So I will see you this Sunday, I believe. All right? Take care. Bye.